this is Faith at Faith and Books. This is my fourth attempt to make this video, so let's hope this works. So I just thought I would do a quick update because I haven't posted in 10 days. I've had a really busy week. I had my son and my daughter-in-law and my granddaughter came down last weekend and to celebrate my birthday, which was on Tuesday. And I got to see my granddaughter, whose birthday is today. She just turned 1 today. So happy birthday, Edith. And they went back up Tuesday morning. And then, I was asked to record a video for a homeschooling conference in the Philippines. So I was working on that. So that sort of took my recording time up. And then I was doing other things too during the week. It was just a busy week. So I just didn't get around to, I've seen some BookTube videos because I've had really, not really, I don't know, but I've had like arthritic flare-ups since Easter. And so I have been spending time just sort of lying in bed watching YouTube videos, but not making them. And so I'm just going to do a quick update of what I'm reading. And then I actually just want to add to my TBR. I have to readjust things. Because I want to add more stuff in to what I was planning to read. So I have been reading this book on Thomas Jefferson, An Intimate Life by Fawn and Brody. And I was getting into it. Let's see, I got to page 45. Got to page 45. I have issues with Jefferson, as I said before. Brody's style of writing is good. She's not hard to read at all. It's a little bit dated to me. It came out in the 70s, and her psychological analysis just feels a little bit dated. And so that's a little bit off-putting, plus the fact that I don't really care for him. There are a lot of things to dislike about him. But I do want to read. But I kind of stalled out on this because I found out that the read-along, the presidential read-along, they were actually going to wind up their John Adams read-along April 15th. So then I thought, well, wait a second, they're not even starting Thomas Jefferson. So then I decided I would just put it on hold, and I just feel really out of the loop when it comes to the read-along. I'm not really in the know. So I think I need to go to Discord and figure out what's going on and what the timetable is for it. I feel that way about a lot of things on BookTube. I just don't feel like I really have a grasp on things. Anyway, so I do want to read it. I still want to read it. But I put it on hold, and I got to pick it up. And I got to figure out how I'm going to get all this reading done because I'm just at a really busy point, and yet at the same time, I really, really want to read. So the other things I've been reading is Les Miserables, and I've been really enjoying this a lot. I find Hugo quite the character. His character really comes through the book. He's very poetic and melodramatic, and he just writes whatever he wants. I think he was in a position when he wrote this, which I think was sort of his last great work. He was already sort of a national treasure and very well known, and he'd served in government for many years and been writing for a long time, and so I think he just felt like he could write whatever he felt like. And so at one point in here, and I meant to save it so I could look at it, at one point in here he just stops and says, they spend too much money on those military salutes with all those cannon fire, to salute ships coming in and out and all sorts of things. And it costs money. And he actually figures out how much money it costs. And yet there are people who are homeless, who are going without bread. So it sounds like a letter to an editor or something you would say if you were testifying, in front of Congress or something. But he just sticks it right in the novel. And there was a long section that really kind of slowed me down on Waterloo. And he had no reason to put it in. Waterloo was, when was that? 1815? And we kept mentioning it. the time period we're in is 1823, so there's no reason to mention Waterloo. But he just felt like writing about it, you could tell, and he wrote pages and pages and pages on it. Very over-the-top poetic. I mean, to the point where I was chuckling. I'm sure he didn't want me to chuckle, but it was so patriotic. And, he's just so enthusiastic over the cause of the revolution. And, while he recognizes that things went awry and that Napoleon, wasn't the perfect, representation of what the revolution was going to do or whatever, he's still, he doesn't like Wellington at all. Wellington did not win Waterloo. It was just fate. It was just the sunken road. There was somehow Napoleon forgot to have people give him accurate bearings on the lay of the land, and that was something that happened. And then all sorts of excuses for why Napoleon lost Waterloo. And he just goes on and on. At the end, he ties it in. At the very end, after pages and pages of going on about Waterloo, he ties it in with this one, kind of minor character that he didn't need to do at all. I mean, he was totally just there because he felt like writing about Waterloo. At least that's what I think. So I'm enjoying Hugo's personality, and now we're back to the narrative. And he's so funny the way he writes. He'll like introduce something, like we've been talking about something else, so we're going to come back to the narrative, and he'll say something like, a man was walking along the road. His hair was white. His mien was, and then he'll describe his face. And then something will happen. There'll be some sort of heroic or extraordinary thing will happen. And, at the end of all this, he'll say, it was Jean Valjean. And of course, as a reader, all along it's Jean Valjean. It's just the way he's really into that way of presenting things. It's very melodramatic. So I'm enjoying it, but I'm up to page 400 now. So we've gotten back to the narrative, and this is the first really intense time that Javert, the police officer, is chasing Jean Valjean. If you don't know the story, Jean Valjean is the main character. He's got this little girl, Cosette, that he's taking care of because her mother died, and he felt responsible for that. And then and there's this obsessive police officer who's determined to get him. And so this is the first time, and it's quite riveting, how he's going to escape. He's really good at escaping, and he's super strong. He's almost got superhuman strength. So it's interesting. I'm enjoying it. I'm up to page 400, but see how much more I have to go. So I've decided that I'm not going to worry about finishing this in April. I'm trying to read it steadily every day. I'm going to come up with a reading schedule because I work better when I have set times where I'm going to read certain things. And I'm going to give myself permission to read it through May. I want to stop by May, though, because I started it in March, April, May. I think if it gets more than 3 months, I'll wind up not finishing it. So I don't want to push myself so that I can't read anything else. But on the other hand, I don't want to let it go too long either. So that's what I'm going to do. This isn't just an April book. It's probably going to go into May. And that's fine. And the other book I'm reading is also, I've talked about these before. It's on Amazon. It's called Fulfillment, Winning and Losing in One Click America. I'm finding it really interesting. It's basically a history of the different cities that Amazon has gone into and how Amazon being there has affected them. And it's not good, guys. People are really sold on Amazon. They're really sort of, starry-eyed about it. They're really impressed by it. And but when it comes in, it actually doesn't really help that much. It guarantees all this, but the company, for its whole existence, has been making its products cheaper by being able to finagle tax subsidies and then avoiding sales tax. So the whole company was built on avoiding taxes as much as possible so that they can undersell more local businesses. And they just get more and more powerful and into more and more things. Like now they're like most of the cloud is Amazon, and just they keep expanding. They expanded into, started off as the bookstore and then marketplace, where they're really undercutting local businesses because they take like 15%. So it's all about sort of gouging the other guy. Everything, the bottom line is, the shareholders and the profit. And it's really kind of parasitic. And this guy is very pro-union and pro-worker and anti, big global corporations. So he's telling it definitely from that perspective. But it's interesting because at first he starts off with Seattle. Now we're actually back in Seattle. I'm at 51% here. And then he goes to Dayton, Ohio, Carlisle, Pennsylvania, in my own area in Northern Virginia, in Ashburn, and in Prince William County, in Washington, D.C. He's talking about all this stuff that I'm familiar with here. In Baltimore, he really goes into Baltimore's history because he does this interesting comparison of the rise of Bethlehem Steel in Baltimore and their anti-union tactics, and Amazon going into Baltimore, because apparently they have a big warehouse there, a fulfillment center, and their anti-union tactics. So anyway, you don't like Amazon reading this book. It's not impressive. And one of the things he cited, and I actually looked this up because I couldn't believe it, there was a poll done in 2018 asking Democrats and Republicans who the most trusted institutions, or I don't know what the word they used is, organizations in the U.S. And for Democrats, it was Amazon. Amazon came first as the most trusted, before government, before unions, before universities. I mean, isn't that crazy? Why would you so blindly trust a huge corporation? Jeff Bezos is like this libertarian. He's made it by avoiding taxes. You always think of Democrats as saying, well, I'm glad I pay my taxes, because what? It's such a cognitive dissonance. And then for the Republicans, it was the third most trusted after the military and police, and then Amazon. That is so bizarre. So it's really interesting. And here I've got Amazon emblazoned on my Kindle cover, but I'm waking up. I'm not gonna solicit stuff from Amazon, or at least I'm gonna try not to. Now, I did do a couple of transactions with them, including one of the things that's on my new TBR, because I forgot about Kate Howe's Read Along Most Victorian. In fact, there's a social this afternoon, which I'm hoping to get to at least some of it. The book that she has us vote on selections, and the book that won this time, I'm not even sure if I voted last time, is interesting. It's called The Romance of the Shop, and it's by Amy Levy. Never heard of her, never heard of the book before, but it's really interesting because it was written back in the Victorian age, and she was the first woman to attend Cambridge University. First Jewish woman, maybe. She was Jewish. Anyway, it's supposed to be a story of two sisters who open up a shop. I haven't started it yet, but I did download it for 99 cents, so I did do some Amazon stuff. But it sounds really interesting to me. In fact, kind of reminds me of my grandmother, because my grandmother in the late turn of the century, like 1890s, she and her sister started one of the first direct mail companies in her little town outside of Pittsburgh. So she and her sister would go to these companies and who would want to do like mass mailings, and they would get the addresses, and they would type up the letters and then stuff the envelopes and then mail them out. So just the idea of these two women back in the day going into business kind of intrigues me. So anyway, so that's added to my TBR. So on top of Thomas Jefferson and Fulfillment and Les Miserables, I want to read The Romance of the Shop. What I'm hoping to do is finish the Fulfillment book try to finish that in the next couple of days, and then start with the Romance of the Shop. And that'll be my Kindle read, my reading when I have insomnia and I don't want to turn on the light to read. So that's the first thing. Then the second thing that I want to read, and I'm actually losing my train of thought. What was the second thing? So romancing? I can't remember, but I'll talk about Dante. So there's going to be a Dante read-along, and I'm really excited about it because I've been trying to crack Dante for a while. And when my middle son was in high school, we decided to read Inferno together. And we got another girl to join us, another high schooler. And so we were just doing Inferno because we didn't want to bite off more than we could chew. We got one of the great courses, video courses on Dante. And we watched like the first third of that, I think. And then the girl that was doing the study with us read the Inferno translated by John Ciardi. So, I bought this after the fact, but we really liked this translation. Then I was reading, I forget if I was reading it or my son was, but one of us was reading Longfellow. This is the Barnes & Noble edition, the classic edition. It's really nice. It's got like those beautiful prints by, who is it? Durer? How do you say his name? Durer? I think Durer. Albert Durer. I should look this up. But anyway, this is such a nice, yeah, Gustave. No, not Durer. Sorry, wrong guy altogether. Gustave Doré. It's Doré. See? So, and this is such a nice edition. It's got this little ribbon. It's just really nice. And this is the Longfellow translation. So we were reading that, which is a little bit harder to understand, and I thought just a little bit clunkier, frankly. Sometimes it wasn't, and sometimes it was. And then either I or my son, I think he was reading the Longfellow and I was reading the Sayers, but I was doing the Dorothy L. Sayers. Now, I kind of like Dorothy L. Sayers, even though I don't think she is the most poetic. It does also feel a little bit clunky, but she has really, really good extensive notes. And I just loved her notes. So also there's a clarity, I think, to hers, even though it isn't maybe as poetic in the language. So I actually kind of liked her. So I have all three of her books. Unfortunately, they're not all in the same edition. So this is Penguin Classics Hell with Dorothy L. Sayers' translation and her notes. Then this is a different cover, but that's also Dorothy L. Sayers, and then the Divine Comedy Paradise, which I've never read. So I read Inferno with my son, and then later on, I was asked to teach it to 7th graders at a co-op. And I said to the woman who was running it, you don't want to read that. It's not for 7th graders. But we got a children's retelling, and I think the one we used, I can't find it. I can't find it in my library. I think it was the one by Mary McGregor. And we just read Inferno. It was actually an interesting class. I enjoyed teaching it, and the kids did the neat art where they did the spiral, the circles of hell. Where is that? Now I can't find it. But you've probably seen it. It's famous. The circles of hell, illustrating all the different levels. The kids got to do their own in the class, so that was kind of neat. But because of that, I was looking around for another children's retelling, and I came across this. This seems to be pretty much there's either Mary McGregor's, which is much earlier. I don't know when she did it, 40s or 50s, maybe even earlier. And then this one, Dante's Divine Comedy as Told for Young People by Joseph Tousiani. So I really want to kind of read this along with it, just to see how he interprets things for children. And then just this past summer, I decided to read, just because of the classic spin, I decided to read Purgatoria. And I only got 2 of these. I need to get the final one. These are Modern Library, and the translation is by Anthony Isolin. I think that's how you say his name. And I know him because he's a very outspoken Catholic cultural critic. Don't always agree with him. I'm actually friends with his wife on Facebook. She's a lovely person. But I did read, this summer when I was reading the Purgatory, I read Longfellow's. Sometimes I didn't always get to him, but I read Sayers and Isolin's. Isolin, I don't know how you say his last name. And I actually really liked his translation. He's got a clarity, and yet it's poetic. There's something very crisp about his translation, and I really liked that it had the Italian on one side, and then his translation. And he has some pretty good notes too, but they're not as extensive as Dorothy L. Sayers. Although maybe in the back of the book there are. Yeah, I think he does have a lot of notes at the back too. So I enjoyed reading these together this summer. And then every once in a while, when there was something particularly interesting, or I would get this out and read Longfellow's translations. So that's what I would do. I would just, during my little quiet time, I'd lie on the couch and with these 3 books, and I would just read a canto, and then compare it to I would read 2 different versions or 3 different versions and read the notes. And it's quite enjoyable. And I've never read Paradise. So anyway, so I'm excited about there's going to be a read-along. I think it's Jennifer Brooks, but I don't know when it starts either. This is why I feel so out of the loop with BookTube. I don't quite understand how the Thomas Jefferson read-along is going, and I don't quite understand how the Dante one is going on. Did it already start? I don't know. Am I late? Am I early? Am I right on time? I have no idea. But I do want to participate somehow. And I'm not sure. I mean, we're starting off with the Inferno. With the Inferno. So I might try the Ciardi. Because this one is also really, I don't know, I get addicted just reading different translations because I just find how they translate things really interesting. So, and I really enjoyed Steve Donahue interviewed Tom, LA Books, and Tom is the one that's doing a long series on each different canto in the Inferno right now. And it's really, really interesting. I've only actually watched a couple of them all the way through. I keep thinking to myself, I have to have time to sit down, but I might do this. If I'm going to dedicate time to reading, I might try to make that something that I do more regularly. How can I fit it in? I don't know. Fit it in because I'm also doing the Bible in a year. So we broke off in the middle of 1 Samuel, and we went and we read the book of the Gospel of John in 7 days. We did it really quick. It was really intense. I've always found the Gospel of John a little bit disorienting. Like I need someone to interpret it for me. So I've never read it that intensely, just like in 7 days. So I think that really helped, actually. I think it's a better way to read it. But now we're back in 1 Samuel, and we're learning all about Saul. I just find the Old Testament stories really, really interesting. So we're doing that too. So that takes about 25 to 35 minutes every morning. So I'm doing that. And then if I'm reading Les Miserables, I'm trying to do like a half an hour of that at least every day. And then I don't read the fulfillment book every night, but I would say 4 or 5 times a week I will read it for a bit. How am I going to fit in? And I sort of put the Thomas Jefferson on hold. So, and then there was one more thing I want to talk. I think it was the Romance of the Shop. That's what it was, right? Dante, Romance of the Shop, Thomas Jefferson. Oh, wait, I forgot about something else that's coming up on April 27th. So I've gotten involved in the AND campaign, and we're going to be they're starting a book club. I think they've already read a couple of books together, but I just wasn't involved. They're starting a book club on April 27th, And the first book is going to be Martin Luther King's Strength to Love. So I just ordered that. I ordered it from Bookshop because that was the only place I could find it that wasn't Amazon that could get it to me on time, I think. Like before the 27th. I wanted to get it a couple of days before so I could look into it before. Because I'm not sure if we're starting to read or we're meeting on the 27th and we have to have already read a chunk. So I'm not sure of what's going on there. Anyway, so that's the other thing. So this is my TBR right now. It's Les Miserables. Finish the fulfillment book. Start the romance of the shop. Find out how the Dante read-along is going and somehow work that into my schedule. Work in the Thomas Jefferson biography and also read Les Miserables. And I mean, it's in the middle of gardening season and I'm watching kids and just all kinds of stuff is going on. So it's crazy. So, wow, I've prattled for a long time and I'm going to make another video today, I think, to do a tag so I can put that up for Tuesday. So anyway, so I think that's it from me. I feel like I've just prattled on. I have no idea if it was interesting, but I don't know. That's it. So talk to you later. Hope you're doing well and happy reading. Bye.